Welcome everybody to class 0, almost, of the Music and Cognition series on heartstring lessons. Today I want to talk a little bit about rewards and benefits and how we value them as a culture. And this class is about cognition and music, and it has a lot to do with what drives people, how does our mind motivate ourselves, and what types of thinking can we learn in the class. So today I want to talk a little bit about how motivational states play into the benefits and rewards of taking the class, and a little bit give you an example of what philosophy sort of is. So usually when you try to motivate somebody to do something, you're going to tell them a list of benefits. So music, usually they'll say music will help you focus more, it'll improve creativity, it'll help you in school and reading, writing, math, science. Music is good for everything is the benefits. So usually when we try to motivate people, we're going to tell them that. However, in philosophy, we'd usually take a step backwards and ask, well, what are benefits? So benefits, I think they are things that are included as a result of doing something, sort of consequential. However, that's a descriptive way to look at it, but the value of benefits, I think, is what I want to focus on today. So I imagine benefits as when you take a vitamin, you're going to take this vitamin and you'll get clearer skin or more hair or more energy. So let's say like vitamins, benefits of taking a vitamin. It doesn't have to be music right now. And if you take this vitamin, that's really all you have to do, and then you get the benefits as long as you take it. Or let's say you live in an apartment complex and there's all these benefits, or a gym. It has a gym, it has a basketball court, it has a pool. These are all benefits that come from being around and or having this thing. However, if you don't motivate yourself to go to the gym, or like motivate yourself to go to the pool and use these things, then are they really benefits? So benefits are usually used to entice things. However, I think the stat is like 30% of people actually use their gym memberships a year. This is how they make a lot of money. Don't quote me on it, but the way you get the benefit is by doing work, even though the benefits are still there. So in music, there are all these benefits, but you don't get a reward, I think is what we want to talk about in music. I don't think there are any benefits of music. I think there are only excuse me. I think there are only rewards. Exclamation point. And why is it a reward? Well, it's because you can have your instrument sitting around. Like, I think everybody might have one of these guitars sitting around. This was my first guitar I ever got, and I still have it. And in the beginning, you have this guitar, you maybe have learned a C chord, a G chord, A minor, and that was about it though. But you have this instrument, like all the benefits of doing better in school and expression and coping mechanisms are still locked inside of this. Locked inside of this instrument. It still has all the benefits, but I have not gotten any of the rewards yet. And why is that? Well, I believe like a reward comes from hard work, humility, a teacher, habits, commitment, diligence, all these things. But I think among all of these, it requires a personal goal, and I say personal for a reason, which in the next class it might make a little bit more sense and when we go further. But personal goals are, when you fulfill them, are rewarding. Having humility, having a teacher, developing habits, good habits, having diligence, these are things that we comment on someone's character on. So a reward is something that we judge based on somebody's character, like their inner self, their deep self made this choice to do this, and we honor that was a good choice. Like your efforts, your decisions have led you to gain these rewards, and that's what we want to be rewarded for. So we have benefits, which I believe are always there. This instrument has infinite benefits. However, we want the reward, and that's why I say music only has rewards, because it does take this long. Uh, it's a journey. Music is a journey. So when I talk about rewards, like that's a goal, is to get a reward. So we have these goals, and when we have goals, we could go off and say all the goals that you should try to do, like practice this much, do this much. But really, I want to talk about, well, how do we even achieve goals? What kind of goals are there? Again, taking a step back, this is philosophy. This sort of thinking is what I want to focus on. So we have goals. What are goals? Well, there are a couple different types of goals. The one I want to talk to about today is sort of a comment on our culture. And I think we have this imperative culture, which means that an imperative is a command. So we have these things out where we tell people, learn for the sake of learning, period, command. So, but when you follow that command, are you really then learning for the sake of learning, or are you learning for the sake of fulfilling a command? And I think a lot of the goals that young kids and even adults today, we are constantly in this imperative culture where, excuse me, we are fulfilling many, many goals that are for other people. We're doing a lot of things that are for other things and not within ourselves. Maybe it does please us, but it's not for the sake in which we say. So let's say I want to I want to use a song to impress a girl. Am I learning the song because it's good in and of itself, or am I learning it for something else? Am I really learning for the sake of learning, or am I learning for the sake of something else? Then there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm just saying this is the culture that we have. So we have this command sort of reason to achieve goals, which if we want the rewards, and these learning is because someone told us, then really the reward comes from fulfilling the command, which means that somebody has to give it. So when your only reward comes upon the praise of another person on your character, like we talked about, that's sort of a fragile sort of motivational system, because if they disprove, then how likely are you to continue doing it? If they do approve, maybe you will do it, but are you really concerned with what you're learning then? So there's a certain secondary aspect, I think, of how we promote goals. And I think for myself, the best part about music for me was that I was given tools to then be able to decide my own goals when I was growing up. So in school, let's say with math class, they say go home, finish these 100 problems. But they could easily just say, like, make 100 math problems yourself and solve them, and then judge you based on, do you get them right, and then how creative, how hard did you actually challenge yourself? Did you want to do a lot of problems with 9s? Did you do a lot with 8s? Are those harder? We don't let kids experiment. We don't let them explore. We don't challenge them to create their own goals and see how they want to learn themselves. And I think with music, for me, I started to establish these own personal goals, and it didn't matter if my friends didn't like the music that I was playing. I liked it, and I was doing it. And my teacher allowed me to help me achieve my own personal goals, and I was open to other goals as well, which I think this humility comes in. So setting personal goals, and now we're talking a little bit about achieving goals, which I think has to do, how do you achieve things? You have to be motivated. So instead of talking about motivation in itself, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're motivated. So talking about motivation. So there are two types of basic things that psychologist Apter talks about. He has a para-telic state, para-telic, and para-telic is about the journey. Start with that. And then we have telic, which is only about the goal. So let's say that when we're focusing on how we want to achieve the goals, let's say my goal is to learn every single song off AC/DC's Back in Black album, right? And when I'm trying to learn it, I realize that there's two guitars playing, and how am I gonna make up the difference if I can only play it by myself? So that's an impediment. And if I'm only focused on achieving just the end goal, that's gonna stress me out. So we have this relaxation is gonna be over here. So higher I go, the more relaxed I am. And as we go over here, I'm not going to use the word stress, I'm going to use arousal. So when I'm in this telic state, I'm only concerned about the goal. So as long as I'm achieving my goal, I first open the book, I'm looking at it, I see, okay, cool, I got this one guitar part, amazing, and then I realize there's now a second guitar part that's playing a harmony or a backup. And that's an impediment. That's getting in the way of me achieving my goal. That's creating unwanted arousal. I don't want anything to get in the way of me achieving my goal. And if I can't play both of these parts, that's an impediment. And then I go through, keep going. I'm like, what? Now there's 3 guitar parts that I can't do. And wait a second, I can't do this solo. I don't know how to bend yet. Oh, wait, I can't slide. I don't know how to finger pick. I don't know how to do a pull off. I hammer on, and then I just get more and more and more stressed, more and more unwanted arousal. Now, I think as a culture we like this because we think if you just focus on your goal, this is, I think, the para-telic state is just complete focus. But the problem with focus that I found is that you filter out a lot of things. So if I'm only looking straight ahead, there's a whole bunch of other things that I'm not taking into consideration that I could be enjoying. And I think we focus on focusing a lot more where because we want kids to just sit and complete commands. That's how we want people. We go to the store, we don't want someone helping us to be talking to anybody else. We don't want them to be commenting on the music. We don't want them making side conversations sometimes. Like, we just want them focused only on the goal. And this is our culture. We live in this imperative command sort of telic environment. So when I look at para-telic on this journey, I definitely think I am a thinker in school, and that's why I love music. And when I actually got chances to do projects and design my own science projects, and now in philosophy I actually get to try to create and express like an idea that I've been working on and that I'm motivated in, such as combining cognition and music to help teach a little bit on how to do this. I started enjoying everything else. Like, let's say I'm going back in black. When I was a kid and I was able to explore, I was stressed out, right? Because I was like, wow, like there are so many things that I want to do, and I'm restless. Like, I want to get started. I want to go. Like, I want arousal. I want challenges. I want to overcome things, and I want an experience. So I'm learning these songs, and then I learn, oh wait, I don't know how to bend. I don't know how to do a pull off, but that's okay because I'm excited by that. I'm glad that that's something I can now learn and practice on. That's not getting in the way of my goals. Like, oh, there's 2 guitars. Well, I'll just play a little bar chord over it, or I'll just hit an open string, or I'll go online, or I downloaded recording software and then I just recorded the second guitar. So I learned both of them. So I wasn't even impeding it, but I thought, how could I spin this to make this more enjoyable? So I still take my goal, but I'm not deterred by like challenges that come up, because those are exciting. Those get me to think. They don't distract me. They give me an adventure, something that I can set out on myself to be creative and overcome, or ask my teacher and we can work on it together. And I think a reward of running into these problems of, I don't know how to do this scale, I don't know how to play this chord, this sounds bad, ultimately was exciting, because every time I thought I got something going, I realized I could just go deeper within it. And I just started to think that music was this ultimate expression, and I was able to start doing my own goals. So I made bands, I met people, and I recorded, and I made all these different drum tracks. And I think that's more because I wasn't stressed out like by learning the instrument. And I think that's also why I got the rewards of playing it, is because I wasn't stressed out by all the impediments that come, especially from the guitar, because it's not very accessible like a piano. Just bam, sound. A guitar is rough. I'll do an example. So on the guitar, you have to, one, put it in the right spot. You put it, I can't even do it anymore, but sometimes if you put it, it's gonna buzz. So you have to work on that, and you have to hit the right string, and then get them all at the same time. Sometimes they don't play out all the way, and this is not a easy para-telic instrument in the beginning for some people. However, I looked at it as an excitement, and my teacher always tried to help me remain para-telic. Well, we can't do this, but let's substitute it with this other thing. So then I always realized there was a way to move around things. There's always another way to get things done, which I think improved my creativity. It also allowed me to seek help and understand resources. And when problems come up in science or school and life, I think I can start taking a step back and realize that there's a lot of ways to get through it. And just because I had this one goal and it seems to have an impediment, maybe I'll learn something else. Like, I've never done this before, let's see how it works out. So, I was a little bit on the para-telic. So it's about the journey. Like, I wasn't worried about, I still wanted to achieve learning all of it, but I wasn't angry, I wasn't upset, I wasn't deterred by getting it. And no one said that I had to do it. This is my own goal. And I think establishing personal goals without the expectation of others allows me to be in this. So, on this para-telic sort of journey, and also improves my thinking over my focus, because science, cognition, psychology is really saying that people can only focus on one thing intensely for 5 minutes. Like, try to just focus on your breathing through meditating for 5 minutes. Like, that's a long time to do it if your only goal is to finish the 5 minutes. But if you just kind of sit there and you're like, wow, okay, I was thinking about something there, I'm going to come back in a para-telic sort of state. It's kind of fun to talk about mindfulness applied to this, but I'll save it because I'm thinking maybe I should focus a little bit more. But so we have these habits, we have meta-motivational states. I think that when you are in a telic state and you're trying to achieve goals, a lot of times you'll filter out a lot of things. Like in the beginning, it's like, well, I can't do the second guitar part, so I'm just not going to do this. Filtered out, done. No more change, no more impediments now because I'm not doing it, so I'm relaxed again. And this filtering out, I think, is tough for a lot of people when they're learning an instrument, where I wasn't like that. My teacher, I would come in and I did like rock and roll, but I was always open to learn about blues or funk or R&B and metal, and even some classical, even country songs sometimes, if they had something that he thought I could learn and apply to my own playing, my own style, and just learning the guitar. I think I just did like playing the guitar for playing the guitar, which was kind of, I think, a benefit. But in the beginning, when you're learning an instrument, I really encourage you to try to be in this para-telic state where there is a lot of things going on, but even if something doesn't directly contribute to your goal, just like enjoy the journey and see what happens as you learn more and more and you struggle, and maybe things aren't exactly what you want to learn all the time, but you'll see along the way that maybe it changes. I grew up wanting to play thrash metal like Exodus and Metallica, and now I want to write classical songs. I'm learning a lot of flamenco guitar, jazz guitar sort of chords, and even just trying to really focus on melody right now. So we change, right? Life is always in change. So that's why I think the telic state of mind is not, I'm going to make a claim that this is not a good way to be motivated in learning an instrument or really anything, even though I think as a society we tell people, focus on this, do this, complete it, don't get distracted. However, I think distraction only comes when you have a personal goal that you're thinking about, but you're required to focus on this command. What else would you be distracted from? When I have a song that I'm playing that I've thought of and I'm thinking about and I'm trying to achieve for myself, and then like my phone rings, someone calls me like, I'd be like, okay, maybe I'll take a break from this and then see what this conversation, maybe I'll put it in there. I'm not, oh, this interrupted my flow, blah, blah, blah. I'm just allowing arousal to come. So when you're in this telic state, things are, any change really, any interruption, any change is going to upset you in your goal. So your string breaks on stage, or your cable goes out, or your guitar doesn't sound like the video, or your hands don't move like your favorite guitar player's hands, or your hands don't even look like your favorite guitar player's hands, or my hands are big and theirs are small, which this is true genetically. Like there is like an aspect of having long hands helps you play the guitar. But you shouldn't let that change or impediment affect it, because if you go through the whole time you're learning trying not to have anything interrupt or change you, or during life in this don't let anything change, try to maintain control, that's going to be very upsetting. Plus the journey from getting here doesn't really matter as much. Where this, if you're sort of just enjoying the journey at each step and overcoming every sort of thing, by the time you get there, you have all of these goals and rewards that you have now like enjoyed and been a part of. And it wasn't all about the ends, it was about the means. So look how full of means this is before we get to the end. Whereas this is miserable. People are getting unwanted arousal. So I really encourage people when they start learning, just be open. Try to give yourself the time to really just experiment. Take one chord and then see if you can play it all the way through, and then see if you can sequence it. And these are things that I try to have a backing track. People ask, well, what do I do with the scale? And sometimes you just want to be para-telic and play the instrument. The goal is not to, there's no goal necessarily. Like sometimes I'll just sit down and play and I'll just let it happen. And then I'll be like, okay, now I kind of have a melody. Now I have a goal. And then I'm still open though. So I think thinking has a level of openness, which I was trying to get to. Is I was talking about how the telic state filters out a lot, and this allows a lot more in, so it's more meaningful. So when you're thinking and you're trying to come up with new ideas, sometimes it's hard to think outside the box if we're only focused on one thing. And I think a lot of people like Socrates, Amy Winehouse, Mary Curie, Bessie Smith, I'll even say like Elon Musk or James Brown. Like these guys were people that I don't think that they have focus in their goals. In these women, they have focus in their goals, but I think they also allow themselves to continue on the journey and allow their minds to be open to new possibilities. They don't accept everything as normal. They don't want everything to stay the same, so they innovate. They discover like this para-telic journey, not wanting things to change. I think, and being okay with change is how we innovate, how we create, how we prioritize, how we enjoy and look forward to learning again, is by just enjoying what we're doing. And I think when we learn how to focus and open up ourselves through these motivational states, a lot of good ideas do come. And I think that's also, right now, I'm not always in a para-telic state, let's say that. Like, no one really is, but we do prefer to be in one or the other, the research says. I would like to get this class sort of on a live feed, that way I'd have people commenting, that way it'd be a little bit more interactive, have more arousal, because right now I'm just focusing on completing this, but I'm also having a little bit of fun. So, let me recap. We started off with the benefits of what are benefits, and we talked about, well, what things have benefits, and it's sort of like, yeah, these things lie around you, like the instrument has millions and billions of benefits that you could get, but it's not, the benefits are just there, it's the rewards that we want, it's a sign of our own character that our inner motivational, self-motivational state had achieved this. But then we want to ask, what do we want to achieve? Do we want to achieve goals that are just commands? Because now we're not achieving the instrument, we're fulfilling someone else's idea of what we should be doing, what we think other commands should be. And when you talk about, well, how do you want to achieve your own personal goals? Like, how do you want to be motivated? Do you only care about your goal? Because that will filter out a lot of information and it'll just be miserable. Like, music is should be a journey because there's so many roadblocks, but there are also so many like great things to see along the way. Even if you just wanted one genre of music, you could go so like deep in there if you just are open to everything. And there's like maybe a different class on coping mechanisms and modeling that we're kind of afraid of how big the word music is, so we simplify it to a simple model, sort of a Buddhist sort of philosophy on that. But as we go, the telic state's going to really emphasize focusing because that's all you want is a goal. And anytime you're not focused, you're distracting. That's preventing you from getting to your goal. However, I don't think focus is really what we want to develop when learning an instrument, when learning anything, when trying to pick a career, when trying to be open in our lives and achieve what we want. We want to be thinking and to be thinking critically about and have new ideas and new ways of overcoming certain obstacles. We want to be enjoying and being in the present moment, not filtering out things that don't seem directly related to our goals, but just taking in everything as it is. Because this gives you more ideas, more information that maybe you wouldn't have seen if you only have these blinders on. So, and as we go, we can see like when you don't have these blinders on, and like now, okay, yeah, I didn't know how to do hammer-ons, but now I can do that. Well, I can't do a pull-off, but now I can slide. Now I can solo. My rhythm's getting better. This is great, and you continue on. And by the time you get to the end, which I'm not sure where that is, but whatever goal you had, like completing that AC/DC book, I think it's been a more rewarding journey because you displayed that you've put in hard work. You didn't quit. Like you went to a teacher and had humility. You realized that like good things, rewards come from those who like have to humble themselves and not give up. Say like, this is where I'm at, but I'm excited to see where I go. And then diligence, I think this being in a para-telic state and not stressed out is going to encourage you more, help you a little bit to be motivated to complete this. So I really like this concept. I'll talk a little bit more about this later in the class when it's related to how we think and different types of filtering processes on how I think we pick our music based on our persona, our self models of ourselves. So this isn't going away. The next class is going to be talking more about the nature of sort of these imperative goals and asking, are there things that are good in and of themselves? And this is an overview of sort of what we do in philosophy. So check out Heartstring Lessons on Patreon at HS Lessons. I'll include a link. I'm not quite sure about which one it is. I'll include the link. And if I can get 200 people to sign up, then I'll do these classes every week. So far there's about 15 classes that I want to teach about this with abnormal psychology, how musical communities are formed. Does music come from consciousness, like a spirit, or like the mind, or is it our technology is changing how we're making music? How does it fit in with how we view ourselves, how we view others? How do these affect in the mind? Is everyone able to play music? How does our evolutionary traits over time, how have those help us to learn how to copy, how to imitate, how to communicate? What is music as a language? And how does it translate into the mind? How do we interpret it? How do we express emotions, which are cognitive states, outwardly through music as a metaphor? Lots of things. So give yourself a chance, be open to it. We're going to be working a little bit more on thinking, and I think by the live stream, when I'll ask questions, I'm kind of doing both parts. I would ask you guys what rewards are, what are goals, what are commands. Like, do you think that you are telic? Which one is better? I'm kind of doing both sides right now. But the goal of this is to actually have some interaction and to promote you to go into what we call System 2 thinking, which I'll bring up later in the course as well. Another valuable tool from psychologist Daniel Kahneman. His book is Thinking, Fast and Slow. Check it out. So anyway, Grant Shaw, this is class 0, sort of an introduction to music and cognition and what we'll talk about and during the course. So thank you. Come check it out for more exclusives on how we can achieve our goals, how we can find meaning in music and life. And the next course is going to be on the nature of what is valuable and how we can use values to evaluate music, ourselves, and others, and the types of goals and motivational things that we should be aiming for. All right, until next time, for the for the love of guitar, keep practicing, keep learning.